everyone, and welcome to Listen, Love, Connect. I'm so excited for my guest today. Her name is Kenora, and she'll be talking to us about Title IX. She is part of NRAPE on campus, and I can't wait for you all to meet her. Let me invite her. So she should be joining us shortly. But today we're going to be talking about Title IX, what it is. Hi, Kenora.
Hi. Can you hear me okay?
Yes. Did I pronounce your name right?
Yes, Kenora, yes.
Do you want to introduce yourself just a little bit?
Sure. So, hi, everyone, and thank you, Savannah, for welcoming me to your IG Live. Kenora Parham, I'm the Executive Director of NRAPE on campus, and our mission is to end campus sexual violence by providing direct support for student survivors, prevention through education, and policy reform on the campus, local, state, and federal levels. So happy to be here.
Yes, NRAPE on campus has done so much for me and my family when I first came home. But today we're going to start talking about Title IX. I know this is going to be a loaded question, but can you explain what Title IX is in this time of period? Because I know it's constantly changing.
Yeah, so Title IX, or its full name, is Title IX of the Education Amendments of 1972. It's a federal civil rights law that states no person in the United States shall, on the basis of sex, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any educational program or activity that receives federal funding. So in a nutshell, it prohibits discrimination on the basis of sex and now sexual orientation and gender identity within educational institutions that receive federal funding.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense, because when I tried looking it up, like I was trying to do my research beforehand, but it was like all these big words, and it was so confusing. So you simplified it perfectly. So Title IX is supposed to help victims, correct?
Absolutely. It is supposed to be as a protection civil rights law that is to protect student survivors and survivors in general in terms of gender-based discrimination.
And then how did Title IX come about, or why did it?
So essentially, Title IX is rooted from the civil rights movement era of the 1960s. During this time frame into the early 1970s, there was essentially heightened awareness of discrimination against women in the workplace and academia, and especially from what a lot of folks know in the sports world. Bernie Sandler at the time was a part-time teacher who was earning her doctorate from the University of Maryland. And she recognized that there was about 7 teaching positions that were opened, and she was never considered for any of them. At the same time, former Congresswoman Patsy Takemoto Mink, who was the first woman of color elected to Congress, when she was applying for different medical schools, she was denied to at least a dozen medical schools that she was applying to. Wow. So together, Bernice, Congresswoman Mink, and former representatives Edith Green and Birch Bay essentially came together to draft legislation to address this pattern of discrimination that was happening nationwide. So where there were women across the nation that essentially shared their stories, and data was being collected and compiled on hiring discriminations and other discrepancies that were going on, and of course other inequities such as student athletes and sexual harassment in higher education.
So Title IX is not only for those that have been, I guess, sexually assaulted on campus. It's for across the board, because when I first came out with my story and we reported to the police, they were making it sound like it was only for victims on campuses, and it was for the police station and the school, not for the victim.
Yes, it's essentially from across the gambit in multitude of different fields, but particularly within its institutions that receive federal funding.
And so the changes now are, because I believe in 2020, they changed Title IX which was against victims. And I know when I was reading it, it was very triggering. But now, this year, it's changed a little bit to help the victims, correct?
So
Essentially.
not really.
Oh, okay.
So I can give a little bit of a breakdown of like how much has changed since Title IX first came about. Would that be helpful?
Yeah, yeah.
All right. So essentially from 1972, there have been a number of significant changes. And so good changes, and that includes allowing all students, despite and with respect to their gender identity, having an equal opportunity to participate in any course of study. We've seen a significant number of women, especially, who've been able to attend colleges, earning more degrees. Even women of color are earning more degrees, more doctorate degrees than we're seeing over the past 49 years. And so by the time we've reached closer to where we're at now, we're seeing numbers flips. In 1972, there was about 58% of college students that were male and about 42% that were female. Now those numbers have flipped essentially. And so we've also seen a number of protections for even students and employees who may be pregnant and who are looking to go into colleges but never had the ability to go because there were never accommodative measures in place to help assist them. Or they were forced, because back then they were forced essentially to take less academically challenging programs, essentially dropping out of school. And so over time, what we've seen, especially under the Obama administration with the Dear Colleague letters that were administered during that time in 2011 and 2014, we've seen a significant increase in the number of reporting that has happened with respect to campus sexual assault because the Title IX, at least the guidance under the Obama administration, was provided to students to be able to understand what their rights were under the Obama administration. Fast forward to Trump administration, Betsy DeVos, we've seen basically the reversal and the, taking back the protections of student survivors and their rights under the Betsy DeVos era, and essentially propelling perpetrators up on a higher pedestal than that of the student survivors, and really giving back protections necessary to perpetrators themselves while ridding student survivors of their protections. And so about 4 years, what we've seen is a number of students having to endure these laws that were not for them. And back in 2020, we fought the good fight from 2017, 2018, 2019. And then 2020 is where it was like, oh, we're going to do our final stamp before we leave the administration in terms of the revision of these Title IX regulations under Betsy DeVos that further propelled and further perpetuated harm against student survivors. Now we're in a time where we're under a new administration, under the Biden administration, where in the earlier of this year, Biden had announced his executive order to revise and review Title IX. And so just recently in June, from June 7th to the 11th, the Department of Education, by way of that executive order, had essentially held public hearings. And that was a time where they were able to gather feedback from students, parents, teachers, faculty members, school staff, pretty much everyone in the public, to provide an oral comment or a written comment during that time period about how Title IX has essentially affected them, or even someone they know, or a group of folks. We also participated during the public hearings, along with that of our fellow partners at Know Your Nine, It's on Us, and Every Voice Coalition, and not only in the public hearing giving verbal testimony, but we also came together to provide a written draft letter with over 600 signatures from students across the nation about just how wrong these Title IX regulations are and that they need to be revised. And, we're still working to figure out, okay, what's that next step now that the public hearings have happened? where are things going now and how are they progressing. We also know, like most recently on Title IX's 49th anniversary on June 23rd, the
Mhm.
Department of Education had announced its expansion on the Title IX definition to include sexual orientation and gender identity, which wasn't part of the definition before until this year. So that's where we stand right now.
Well, thank you for the history, and I think it's so important to like look back on how it became to where it is now. Is there anything that you wish like people knew about Title IX in general, just so that they like feel a little bit educated or like how they can help?
Mhm. I mean, what I wish people knew about Title IX, especially about how it's currently written,
Mm-hmm.
are about three things. One is that it contributes to this heightened rate of campus sexual assault because it essentially protects perpetrators.
Right.
And it contributes to what we already know to be a public health crisis, especially on college campuses, and the adverse effects that campus sexual violence has had on students' mental health. So research shows that sexual violence significantly is associated with all mental health outcomes. And so we need to pay particular attention to how the current Title IX under the Betsy DeVos era, written Title IX, has adversely affected students and their equal access to education. And then two, I just simply wish a lot of people knew about Title IX, not just since 1972, but until now. It should be ingrained into our educational system where students actually know what their rights are, what they're working with, who they need to go to, what does it look like when sexual violence occurs, how do they navigate through the system.
Mm-hmm.
And there really isn't this comprehensive kind of understanding coming down from the Department of Education that should be had. Because what we do know is that come this fall, there's going to be an increase in the number of campus sexual assault incidences that occur. Like we have a feeling. We know that there's going to be the traditional freshman that enters,
Yeah.
the non-traditional sophomore that returns to in-person campus, and of course your juniors and your seniors and graduate students who haven't been on campus for the past like year and a half. And so we anticipate that there's going to be an increase in the number of campus sexual violence incidences that occur. And so we need to do more education, more awareness
Mm-hmm.
about what's going on during what we know to be called the red zone. So between August and November, this heightened increase in incidences. And then third, what I really want folks to understand is Title IX should be seen from a truly intersectional lens.
Yeah.
There are so many students, survivors who are at the intersections of their identities, whether they are coming from a community of color, whether they identify as LGBTQIA+, whether they may have a disability, whether they may be undocumented or an international student. There's so much that is intertwined within Title IX
Mm-hmm.
and so complex and so nuanced that, we just have to continue to educate folks and really come at this from a truly intersectional lens.
Most definitely, because I feel like a lot of people don't educate on it. So when I was first told, like when I came out and everything, and they were saying they were just throwing Title IX, Title IX. My mom finally asked, "What is Title IX?" But how they explained it was totally wrong, totally not how you're explaining it. They made it sound like it was to protect them, not us. And it was just a mess, and I don't think even the police officers knew exactly what it was. So I
I'm
wish
sorry,
more.
cut off 1 second. You cut off a
No,
little
you're
bit
good.
because I have an incoming call
No,
that
you're
I have to
good.
wait to. So sorry.
No, you're good. I was just saying that I wish more like police officers knew more about it because I feel like they're uneducated in it. And I understand that they have so many other things to think of, but I feel like when you're dealing with an on-campus survivor, you need to be aware of these things and be educated on it.
Absolutely. Whether you are a police officer, an advocate,
Mm-hmm.
a Title IX coordinator, a faculty, staff member, whatever your role and position is on a campus college campus, everyone should be trained. It should be mandated. And, you know, there should be some consistency in how the training is done on a year, not just a one time, oh, we're one and done, but it has to be consistent. It has to be comprehensive. And that training also has to be survivor centered and trauma informed, because we're asking police officers, folks who are coming at this from a completely different perspective, you know, and different way of training, where they're meant to essentially protect property, not necessarily people. And
Right.
so we have to flip the script and flip the narrative in terms of how, you know, these folks are trained, and to ensure that our students, when they come to campus, really truly feel protected when they come, and no
And,
matter who they go to.
yeah. And you know what I was thinking right now is during college orientation, there's usually a section on sexual assault, but they never mentioned Title IX. They always showed you ways to prevent having it done to you or what to do afterwards, but they've never mentioned Title IX and your rights to it, which I feel is shocking.
And sometimes some schools don't even provide even just that, which is kind of unfortunate,
That's
especially when you're talking about schools that are underfunded, like community colleges or HBCUs. And so we have to change that, right? We have to
right.
figure out a way of how do we not only provide more funding actually for schools to do their job in terms of educating their students in their community about not just Title IX and, you know, preventative training and intervention training, but just like what it means to be an actual like holistic, you know, mission aligned student and future leader that they're trying to produce, right? And so, you know, we have to change that. We have to figure out like what does that look like. And when training is being provided, you know, that's where us advocacy organizations can come into place and help maybe create some co-curriculum on what that looks like. And not just on the campus level. I'm talking all the way down from K through 12. There are so many folks who are in this field that are working on not just Title IX, but just gender-based violence and prevention efforts overall. And there's so much that we can learn and so much that we can incorporate from K through 12 to higher education that I think would be, you know, a such betterment for all those within the community, campus communities.
That's great. Is there any way, like advocates and non-advocates, just who want to help, is there any way of them, like how can they spread the word about Title IX?
Yeah, so I would encourage everyone to go to endrapeoncampus.org, our website, and essentially hit on the about, and you'll see another section that comes up that says contact. Essentially sign up and learn more about some, you know, up-to-date information and action that we're taking in the future, but also to check out our website where we actually provide folks with a breakdown of Title IX, especially as it's currently written, and provide folks with a current status of where Title IX and where things are at under the Department of Education is at. So everyone will have like a truly up-to-date information on our website by just clicking and rapeoncampus.org.
And follow them at Rape on Campus, and I'll also put your guys' website link in my bio for them to look at as well. Thank you so much. Is there any last thing you want to say?
Yeah, I would just say to anyone who is contemplating and thinking about reporting, not sure where to go to, please come and contact us at erock@civicnation.org, or fill out our inquiry form. That would actually be the best bet, is our inquiry form located on our website. We can help you navigate through the system, refer you to the right folks in terms of your needs, especially when it comes to navigating Title IX. We have a number of different legal partners that we can refer folks to. And if they're looking for mental health resources, we have a number, a list of folks that we can also just share. So if anyone is looking for more information, please connect with us on that, and we can help you, find whatever it is that you're looking for or what you want, what you need.
They're a great resource. I can attest. They're fantastic.
Thank you.
And we have future things that are coming that I'm excited about. And I don't know if we could talk about it, but
Yeah, sure.
oh, we can? Okay. So you want to make the announcement?
Sure. So Savannah will be joining NRAPE on campus and a few other of our partners in the mental health field to really talk about mental health and its effects on survivors, especially student survivors. So we have an event on July 28th at 2 p.m. Eastern called Centering Our Mental Health, a fireside chat with survivors at the margins, where we'll really talk a little bit more about the stereotypes and stigmas that are associated with mental health, and especially are associated with student survivors of sexual violence who are at the intersections of their identities, who are just looking for, resources and support in order to, begin or continue on in their mental health journey. So Savannah will be one of our student survivor panelists who will be able to share her insights on mental health. So more information will be shared in the coming week or so. Yes. And so please stay tuned. And we'll be doing more of that promotion very soon.
I'm so excited. It's a much needed topic.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for joining me on this, talking about Title IX. And I'm so excited for what we have planned in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your invite. I am so excited and happy to have you at our event at the end of the month. And so just keep doing what you're doing, Savannah. You do an amazing job.
Thank you.
I love watching you on your IG lives as well as your posts. So keep it up.
Thank you so much. And thank you guys for watching. Hope this was helpful. And always remember to listen, love, connect. Bye. Thank you, Kenora, again.
Bye. Thank you.